Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and another new 1-64 unboxing and review video. And no, you're not having deja vu and you definitely haven't clicked on the same Liberty Walk F40 video again. This is actually its tiny sibling, the Mazda AZ1 Liberty Walk LB40 in white. Basically, it's the F40 that got left in the dryer. And with that, also a brand new MiniGT release. So let's check it out and see what it's all about. So here we have this brand new MiniGT release of this tiny little Autozam, and you can see it says 2024 Tokyo Auto Salon, and of course it's the white edition. So this is pretty much starting to hit shelves now, so you can pick one up for around about 15 to 20 pounds, usual MiniGT prices. But this white version isn't the only flavor, because MiniGT has actually got a blue Pilot livery variant coming out as well, which is the same as one of the Liberty Walk F40s as well, and that's planned for later on this year, so pre-orders are open. So collectors will already have options whether you prefer this kind of clean look or something more striking. Of course, I've got this beautiful little white one, and this one's number 953. Pretty much standard kind of MiniGT box, and of course it's also approved by Mazda as well as Liberty Walk, so I'm very excited to open this little funky car up. Let's check it out. The AZ1 was already one of the quirkiest K cars ever built, thanks to its gull-wing doors and mid-engine layout, but Liberty Walk gave it this full F40 inspired kit, turning it down into the scaled down supercar parody, the LB40. And I've never opened this car up, so let's take a look. Wow, that is that is so cool. Oh my word, that thing is so cool. It's super tiny. Oh my word, that is such a cool little car. Wow, that is absolutely epic. My word. Wow, I really like that. It's so cute. It's really tiny. It's like such a small little car. It's really different from like the usual unboxings that I do. Wow, that is absolutely crazy. The last time when I opened that Fiat 500 Liberty Walk, it felt so small in my hands and so funny, but this is just like, it's so small. It's like a little paperweight. It's so funky. I really like the design of it. Okay, well, we're going to have to explore that. Look, it looks exactly like an F40, like a little baby F40. Wow, that's super cool. Of course, I've actually prepared the actual F40 because I definitely want to have a look at the similarities and the differences between the two cars. And to talk about the real car for a moment, this Mazda AZ1 came out in the early 90s as a lightweight K car with just a tiny little 657cc turbo engine, but the design already made people call it a baby supercar. Liberty Walk took that idea to the extreme with this LB40 kit, these kind of wide arches like in the rear over here, and this really crazy front bumper, and of course this oversized wing on the rear as well, all directly echoing the Ferrari F40. It's super playful and crazy outrageous, but it's still instantly recognizable as a Liberty Walk creation. And of course, I said earlier how weird it was to take that little Fiat 500 out of the box last time. So here's that car as well, and you can just see the size difference between these two cars. So this car is small and this car is just really tiny. And you can even see, let's have a look at the width, and you can see how much less width this car has. It's just really fun. And look how tiny it is even from the rear. It's really absolutely minuscule compared to the two. It's just super funny. Anyways, let's check it out and dive into it properly. And the first quick impressions of the car are that it's pretty funky looking actually. I really like this black and white contrast. I'm always a huge fan of that. And especially the fact that this top section's completely separated from the body color as well. and I really like the proportions of this thing. It's just really cute. And I actually saw an Autozam last weekend at Gravity as well, the Drift Games one, so it's really cool to see a car like that in real life and just really understand and grasp the look of a car like this in real life as well. Of course, the founder of Liberty Walk, Kato Wataru, is a massive Ferrari fan, and this Liberty Walk LB40 kit was his way of turning the smallest supercar into a parody of the legendary F40. Of course, the design of the original was already very quirky, and it was actually co-developed with Suzuki, and Mazda only built it under their Autozam brand because Suzuki didn't really want to risk it themselves, and it didn't actually sell that well in the early 90s, but today it's actually become a bit of a cult classic, especially among JDM and K car collectors. And you can absolutely see why that is the case. And I have also collected a little bit of the family over here, just so you can have a little bit of reference in terms of design. So let's actually look at it in a bit more detail. And starting off with the paint quality, you can see we've got this beautiful white gloss, very typical MiniGT kind of look, and a really nice kind of black gloss finish on the rear as well, and a little bit of carbon fiber here and there. And overall, a pretty cool looking little design on this car. And starting off on the roof, you can see we've got this kind of split top window, and that's of course because this car has gull wing doors in real life. And we've got a little bit of an interesting kind of finish in the center there, Liberty Walk on the banner, and then heading into the window we've got the windscreen wipers, and then in the front over here we've got a little slammed and this crazy looking air outlet in the center, and it's got a little bit of three-dimensionality in the grille over there, and of course Toyo tires. And we've got these really interesting looking air vents, and they've got a pretty strange looking thing going on with this kind of square going around the edges. I'm not really sure what that's about, but that's kind of peculiar looking, but it does have a little bit of three-dimensionality as well. And then of course we got that center NACA duct and the little headlights as well, a lot of three-dimensionality, and we've got little acrylic cover with the rivets going around the edge and two little silver lights in there, and they just look to be kind of painted in a silver. It's not really like a light looking light or anything like that. And then of course we've got this front bumper, extremely reminiscent of the F40, the side intakes, and even little side canards finished in black. And we've got quite a squared off edge on the front of the car here with this little black lip there as well. And just to compare it to the F40, so here we go. You can see we've pretty much got the same kind of motif, even the slammed logo. We've got the air outlets, NACA ducts, the headlights. It's pretty much the same kind of thing. Of course, this car's missing a logo, but you can actually see that air outlets are above the wheels. This one doesn't actually have quite as much three-dimensionality as the LB40 does. So this is actually a little bit more detailed in that section over there. And then of course you can see from the front that the Ferrari's actually got a Ferrari logo as well, and even the little struts here for the front lip, whereas the LB40 is missing them. But look at that size comparison, it's just really funky. I really like that. But let's continue furthermore. So we head into the front 3/4, little MiniGT logo, LB. And of course this car's got a wide body, and just over here it should actually have a recess underneath there, or it should be painted black just like the F40 is over there, you can see. So this car should have that, but it's not painted black unfortunately, but it does have quite a bit of three-dimensionality, you can see just over there. And then heading into the wheels themselves, they spin extremely well actually, and thankfully beautifully we've got the Toyo tires logo and proxies, and we've got these really shiny 6-spoke wheels, and even little silver bolts, and that's very cool. Of course no brake rotors or calipers or anything like that. And looking at the wheels, I just wanted to give you the comparison of the kind of 6 spokes between the Ferrari and this LB40. So pretty similar designs actually, and that's very funky. Of course, here we have this black split line going all across the car, kind of separating it into two. And then we've got a little circle over there, which is I think where you open the door from. And here you can actually see the split line of the door opening. Of course, the gull-wing doors on this car is what really set the AZ1 apart. It looked like a miniature exotic car in a world of boxy little city cars. So it was really something special. And if you look online, you'll actually see pictures of this car with the doors open, and it looks very cool. And here we have another little Liberty Walk logo. And strangely enough, there's a kind of weird split going through the center of the door, which is very strange. But I suspect that is because they had to put the wide body kit on to start doing this kind of knacker duct transition over there. Of course, reflecting the F40. So that's got these side intakes and a secondary knacker duct underneath. And of course, that's pretty much what they're mimicking here. But it is kind of an abrupt sort of visual thing going on here. I think it would have been pretty nice if they didn't really have such an abrupt kind of cut going through the side over there. And then underneath, another little knacker duct, Toyo tires, Sparco, and of course the split window, which is very nicely detailed. And we've got the rear view mirrors with no reflections, however, just finished off in black. A fun little like B pillar over here with a tiny window that you can see through. Then of course this kind of C pillar, and then we head into this rear kit, and here you can actually start to see the rivets going around. And even at the top, it's got this sort of blister kind of look. And once again, comparing to the F40, it's pretty much the same kind of design cues and design features, just really mimicked to a really great quality in this tiny car. Even this undercut behind the rear wheels is evident as well, and even the little air outlets. So that's got them over here, and this one has them over here. However, they are not painted, but they are three-dimensional. Then of course LB40 on the little wing over there, and another little logo. And the rear wheels are pretty much the same as the front, and they are not staggered or anything like that. And now jumping into the rear face of the car, you can see that once again it's pretty much the same as the F40. So we've got these double round tail lights with a black sort of finish on this rear mask, although of course there's no air outlet or anything like that, unlike the F40, but it pretty much mimics the style, even down to this little carbon fiber detail above the lights, and even has the little rivets, Toyo tires in the center, the triple exhaust in the middle as well, and then these tiny little diffusers, and once again pretty much a copy of the F40, and then down to even these little reflectors on the rear. And of course they're not separate elements, they're just kind of painted in this red. And from this close view you can kind of see the rear lights as well, and how much depth of detail they have. And of course they are separate elements. And there we've even got this little Formula 1 kind of logo in the rear. And here we can see it's got this massive wing, and of course it's pretty crazy for a car this tiny, but once again just simulating this F40 pretty closely actually. We've got this little center support, the carbon fiber finish, these winglets on the edges, and of course Liberty Walk written in massive white lettering. However, the F40 didn't actually have that over there. And now we get to this little rear deck, and as you can see, they couldn't really copy the F40 from this kind of point, because the F40's got this colossal twin turbo in the back, whereas this car actually just has this little 64 horsepower K car engine. Of course, this car has a weight of just over 700 kilograms, so it had really great balance and handling, but really tiny turbocharged 3-cylinder engine mounted in the middle there, just like a supercar. So it stays really true to its big brother, even at heart, with its engine placement, and that's really funky. And I love the look of these two. If you just do the comparison like this, let's actually have a look at the wheel placement. So I'll place the front wheels together, and you can kind of see how much shorter the Autozam is. Even in the front overhang's really small compared to that, and I mean the rear overhang is just absolutely like laughable. It's so funny. It's barely got any overhang in the rear at all, so it's really cool. And you can see the sort of different design elements just reflected between the two cars. It's actually quite interesting, and really a feat of engineering and design to be able to fit the design of the F40 Liberty Walk onto this tiny little Autozam. And if you just have a look at it for a little while, it's really cool. And of course the F40's got the white top, whereas this one has the black. So many similarities. It's really cool. And here you can actually see that the height of the wing is pretty much identical to the F40, and that's really unreal, especially for a car this tiny. You can also do a very quick size comparison. So there you have the different widths between the two. It's crazy. And of course width from kind of this angle, and you can see how tiny this Autozam is. It's just absolutely unreal. And of course the fronts as well, and you can really see how much wider the F40 is. It's really remarkable. Very funky little car. And just after the engine compartment, we come to the rear glass, and you can see we've got quite a lot of visibility into the interior of the car. No defrost or anything like that, and a pretty simplistic looking parcel shelf in the rear, and even just behind the seats as well. However, you can see that the seats are quite prominent in this car. You can see we've got a little steering wheel, and we've got the dashboard as well, but I don't see any gauges inside there, and a little handbrake and gear lever, it looks like, although it's very tiny. And pretty good molding in terms of the interior of this car. However, it's really the seats that are the most prominent in here. Just finished off in this red, and we do have quite a lot of three-dimensionality. However, nothing's really painted separately, so we don't have like seat belts or anything like that, like the harnesses. So it's a pretty cool looking little interior, very cutesy for this car, and with a red it really sets it off, and I really like the look of it, although not exactly too much detail. And if you look into the interior of the F40, you can see that we've got these crazy bucket seats with the writing and everything. Of course, this car is made by Inno, so it's a little bit of a different kind of model, but you can just kind of see the sort of details in this car as well in comparison to the Autozam. But either way, a beautiful little thing. So yeah, I'm impressed. And now on the turntable over here, we can really appreciate the look of this car. Overall, I think this AZ-1 LB40 is such a fun little model, and MiniGT have really nailed the proportions and the details of this car. From these crazy wide arches to that really massive oversized wing, it absolutely carries the F40 vibes to a T, while still keeping this very quirky K-car character of the AZ1. It's super playful, it's really different, and it really shows off just how creative Liberty Walk can be. And I'm really impressed by the design work and how well they've managed to translate the F40 into this tiny car. And if you're into these funky little cool cars, especially these Japanese K cars and Liberty Walk, I would say this is definitely an amazing addition to any collection. It's very cool, and I'm super happy with this car. And that wraps up today's review of the Mazda AZ1 Liberty Walk LB40 in white. And as usual, I'd always love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about this little AZ1? Are you going to be adding it to your collection, or do you think it's a little bit too quirky? Or do you think that MiniGT's done an excellent job at nailing this Liberty Walk F40's looks? And also, what color do you actually prefer for this car? And what colors would you like to see on it? I think a really nice red would look absolutely incredible. And of course, if you want to see more Liberty Walk videos, I've got that crazy F40 in the background over there, as well as the insane little Fiat 500 and that extremely wild looking Lamborghini Countach there as well. All of the links are down below. And of course, if you've enjoyed this one, please press like and subscribe to the channel. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Ciao.